What's going on, guys? Steve here with Cherry Picking Cards. Hopefully you're all having a great day so far. I am back with another video. This go around, it's going to be another one of the informative ones with all the new people entering the hobby, and just for those who are curious about, how to evaluate your cards before you send them off to get graded, whether you're doing it yourself, you're sending it out to a group sub, or you just want to know a little bit more about preparation, for the grading process. I know it's definitely something that's becoming very trendy within the hobby, as far as, the return on value. A raw card is nice to have, but knowing exactly what kind of a condition it is with that slab, getting it extra protected, encapsulated, and just, being able to show it off in the collection definitely adds a lot of value to it. A lot of eye appeal, but there is definitely some work in making sure that you do get a nice grade on that, and there are some factors that you want to consider, as far as what to look for before you do get it sent in for grading. And so, kind of with all that said, there's some basic supplies you want to have. The one thing I'm missing right now, unfortunately, is going to be some type of a magnifying glass, like a tabletop one. They sell them on eBay, Amazon for pretty inexpensive, maybe $15, $20. You can certainly spend more, but definitely don't need to do a whole lot, with the expense there. Just get something simple to kind of maybe be able to see a little bit up closer, corners, things like that on the card, just be able to get a better visual of what to see when you're inspecting it. And a lot of them do have a built-in light just to kind of really be able to have things stand out. I'm just using a really natural bright light here in the home, and so I'm gonna just do my best to kind of show you guys what I use. The basic supplies that we do have here, real simple stuff. A microfiber cloth, and these are ones that you would want to use not for really cleaning like around the home per se, but these are going to be ones that you'd want to use like on your eyeglasses. So if you want to go somewhere like a Walmart or an eyeglass store where they have like the optometrist area, they have these are maybe a couple dollars, and sometimes you get multiple in a pack. This might be a little bit harder to find, the rubber gloves, just because, with everything going on these days, kind of the demand with these, but you could definitely go online and, buy a big box of them, or at least a few. You really only need the one pair if you're gonna prepare a whole bunch of cards at once. So maybe just buy a couple for future use, but really just one pair of rubber gloves. Doesn't matter what pair or what color by any means. I like the black ones just because, but and then of course you need to have your cards that you're going to be grading, and then you always want to make sure that they're going to be in card sleeves. The grading companies will not accept them if they're not in any kind of a card sleeve, that is. And so I like to get the ones that are a little bit thicker, just because they do fit in there pretty easily. They're not, not jamming in corners, potentially damaging them after all the prep work that you've done, or just even freshly pack pulled. And then a lot of the companies nowadays are not requiring this just because of the scarcity on them, but Card Saver ones. There are different sizes, Card Saver 2, things of that sort. They're bigger, wider, just for different card sizes. But in particular, Card Saver 1 is what you want. And there are a certain size that, much wider than your standard card that you'd pull out of a pack. So it allows a little bit more breathing room, I guess you could say, for the card. If you want to pull it in and out, it's much easier for the graders whenever they do get it in at the company, for them to be able to get it pulled out of the shell here within the protector without them potentially risking damaging the card in the process. So it protects your card as well. So you want to make sure that you have a microfiber cloth, some rubber gloves, some card sleeves, and a card saver. Nice bright light, of course. And if you have a magnifying glass, with all that, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get the gloves on and kind of show you a few kickbacks I have of cards that didn't quite make the cut and why. And then I'll go ahead and show you kind of what I do when I am preparing a card or evaluating it. All right, guys, we're back. And so before I kind of show you some of the cards that I am gonna be sending in, or at least a sample, and show you what I do to evaluate. And any time that you're doing this, you never want to refer to it as cleaning. I know it's kind of hard to get that confused. You're literally wiping it off and you're wanting to clean the cards. If you ask any group subbers about cleaning or anything of that nature, it's a bad term, if you will, within the hobby. And even if you reference it at one of the grading companies, they'll immediately probably ban you or something along those lines, because they look at that as basically altering the card with using some kind of a cleaning product, or wax, to kind of, alter some of the dings that you may see, things like that. And so, or even altering autographs. If there's a smudge, they'll try to clean it up. And so it's definitely not cool by any means. It's not something that I ever would want to see anybody do. I don't think it's worth it. If the card's damaged, it is what it is. They're not all meant to gem. But with that said, I've got a couple kickbacks. But yeah, I'm gonna go and start with some old school cards here. I think we all, if you don't know who Grandmama is, it's Larry Johnson, kind of, I think he was just on Family Matters, Steve Urkel, but just an old card from my PC. This one, you know, like many old cards, is going to be really dinged up. I'll even take it out of the penny sleeve here. Clearly, there we go. Yeah, you can see the corners. So we're going to definitely talk corners here. That's going to be a big thing. That's just going to be, that's something that they're going to look at. So there's the 4 things to really consider. There's going to be your corners. Definitely not looking good so far. There's going to be your edges, which we're definitely not looking so good so far, because you can see the whitening on there. We're going to have centering, and I believe that they're going to look off of this. Top to bottom is even a little bit off. You can see the top is a little bit thicker, but if we look left to right, right is by far thicker than the left. I don't know if that's the card design where it's potentially supposed to be, but even just top to bottom is off. So centering is the 3rd thing. And then surface. This one, surface is going to include if there's a scratch, maybe a little ding in it. Cards like Prisms are really easy to see those in with the gloss finish on it. A lot of the sets like Chronicles have these print marks, these lines on there. And so this one I maybe don't necessarily see like a surface mark, but it definitely, 3 of the 4 didn't pass with centering, with the corners, and then edges. So that whitening, if you see that on there, especially the older cards, it's definitely not going to get a good grade. That's going to ding it for sure. It's going to bring it down with some of the things that they factor in. So, you know, those are the 4 things to look at. So this one you can see clearly, it's definitely not going to make the cut. I wouldn't want to send that in. I mean, these are things I pulled as a little kid before I even knew what a top loader or penny sleeve was. These are mostly going in the old school binders. And then this is another one I had that I really liked. Probably one of my favorite sets as a kid, the Flare. And so I think this one, I saw something I was maybe considering maybe sending. I was like, you know, I took decent care of it, I guess, you know, for being, you know, original card that I pulled from the 90s. But right up there, I instantly saw something on the corner. So if you see the little bend, you might see everything else looks great on it, but here's a good example of surface. You can kind of see those little lines as I kind of put in the light just like that. And so that's why a bright light will really help. You can really, a magnifying glass will definitely be a benefit to you, but even a nice bright light like this is really gonna tell you instantly if you know, if you should just, it's a kickback as I like to call it. So another example of, you know, corner, something that I noticed that's damaged. And so that's, if you want to send an old card just to kind of see what it may get back, obviously it's not going to jam, but sometimes the really, really old cards, you know, especially like an old Mickey Mantle or something, you know, you don't expect a high grade, but just to know it's authenticated is huge. Or a Michael Jordan rookie card is a great example. If you pull that, just because of the fact that there's so many counterfeits out there for the ones that are in such high demand and much older cards that just don't find print of them, you know, boxes or packs really accessible, and you know that they're legit. Getting in something in a case like PSA or BGS or SGC, or, you know, those are the 3 main ones for sure. That just legitimizes everything. Even if it's not a high grade, it just authenticates that it's a real card and gives that buyer peace of mind if it is something you want to sell. And this is probably one of the more popular sets these days, of course, and collecting in the hobby is going to be Prism, especially for basketball. This one, I think, centering looked pretty good to me because the bubbles, the 3 dots over here kind of lined up pretty nicely. There's about the same amount of space, you know, between those little dots meet the edge there, but Prism is really known for these little surface bubbles up there. Sometimes if you notice the little shield, there's like kind of like a little indentation around it. Sometimes if that's the picture itself is off from where the indentation is, that's going to be a sign. You can kind of see there. I mean, this one looks pretty good. I mean, most things, you know, passed mostly besides, you know, the surface stuff. I think there was a little bit of scratching I just couldn't quite get off when I initially tried to, these little things up here. So it just had a little bit of, you know, surface issues. And so there's definitely some of the things to look for. This one when I pulled it, I remember a video back in February when the product came out, I pulled this. I was like, man, the centering looks fantastic on this. But this is going to be one of those cards that really, and I noticed Chronicles is really bad about it this year. And I don't know if I'll be able to get it on camera here. I'll try my best, but there's little print lines. Let's see if we can try to get it. There we go. There we go. That's a great example. There's these little lines, basically look like little scratches up and down the card. I mean, that's not for me, you know, the way I put it in the penny sleeve or the top loader, or me holding it when I didn't have gloves on at the time. But it's none of the above. It's just the way that it came off the printing press. And like I said, not every card is meant to gem. It's like every card, you know, just like people, we're all made differently. So I think that's what's so neat about cards. It's disheartening, you know, when that happens, you know, a card that you really want to gem, that is maybe somebody you PC, for example, and it doesn't happen. But that's just the way it is. That's the reality of it. And I think that's why when you do get a gem at 10, it should be more special than just anything getting it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get everything kind of back here and kind of get it nice and protected. I had a few more examples over here, but I think you guys really understand the point of it all. You wanna make sure that you're looking at your corners. If you see any of these little dings, the whitening, that's gonna be really good indicators that you probably don't wanna get it sent in for grading unless it's a much older card or something that's super high value, just, you know, being raw, and you just want to get it authenticated and maybe just get it graded, encapsulated for your collection. So, you know, and if you do send it to a group sub, a lot of them are offering the evaluation process. They're starting to charge more with, you know, the demand getting higher and them getting busier. And so, but that is something you can do very inexpensive on your own. And I think it's a fun process. You know, I sometimes just throw on some music and then just, you know, get a big stack of cards. I'll get these all knocked out this evening, and then, you know, stay tuned for a video of what I'm going to be setting out for my next submission. So all that said, once again, let's dive into me actually, you know, getting everything prepared, getting everything evaluated for grading. And so you definitely want to, I highly recommend gloves, because if you don't, there's just really no way to avoid fingerprints. But you want to pull it out very gently from its sleeve and top loader. The microfiber cloth, that is. I like to lay it down just on the, you know, my table up here, and then just gently start wiping. And what this is doing is eliminating any previous fingerprints that might be in there, or a little dust, little things like that, lint that might have gotten trapped. Sometimes you get, you know, especially if it's, you know, a card that you got in the mail or something, or it's a used sleeve, or even your top loader, sometimes those can just get things in there. And so I'll do this, I'll flip it over, and I'm not holding it by the corners. I'm literally just setting my fingers kind of like that, real softly, just so it's not sliding around. And the cloth really can't hurt the card. I mean, if you're not careful, you can certainly do some damage there, but just, you know, gently wiping it. And this one really wasn't too bad, honestly, but I mean, I really want to make sure the scope things out on it. So we'll wipe off our fingerprints, most importantly, so we know that our surface is going to be clean. And we'll pick it up just because we did put it back down. And so we'll do that on the back side here in a second. So I'm not really seeing any major scratches. I'm not seeing any major dings. And this little pattern up here is just kind of the way that it's made. I'm not seeing any, like, when we look at the corners real close, those look pretty good. Not bent, not rounded or soft corners, as you might hear sometimes is a good term. They're soft because they're kind of rounded off, especially as older cards. But these gloss finish ones are real easy to be able to tell, in my opinion, if you're going to get something that's not going to grade well. And this one, in my opinion, the corners, edges, surface all look great. Centering, it's much harder to tell. I don't honestly think they're using this and this as the indicators. If they are, I'm probably going to be way off. But I think when on the back is a better indicator, because these sides do line up proportionally. You know, they're very even. You know, I am a little bit concerned because the Panini logo does look a little bit higher than I like at the top, versus, you know, the distance down here on the bottom. But I'm still going to go ahead and give this one a shot. I think at worst it could maybe get a 9. Now, since we did set it back down on the other side on the cloth, we'll go ahead and just wipe it off here. And even though we did have it in that previous penny sleeve, I like to get a brand new one out personally. Just make sure that it's, you know, nice and fresh. We'll slide it in. Like I said, these are ones that are a little bit thicker. That way everything, you know, goes in there. I think they're for 55 point, you know, kind of the thicker cards that you might pull out. So let's see, we'll go ahead and put this in. And then this is the card saver here. You just want to kind of squeeze the sides. You can kind of push it down here. I don't get to where you guys can see it. So you squeeze the sides and just kind of gently push it down in there. And it unfortunately doesn't really bang quite as easy as like a top loader would. But if you just really do your best to kind of hold the sides there and kind of give it to where it opens that up top, you can really maneuver the card the way that you need to, in and out. And it doesn't, I don't think it needs to be all the way at the bottom. I wouldn't recommend putting it all the way at the bottom. Just because it's going to be a little bit harder for them to get it out, I feel like. It's not really going to move around a whole bunch, especially because I will put these in a stack and then put them in a team bag. And then I know a lot of people are starting to suggest there's like little sticky note things that you can put on here, kind of on the outside of maybe your penny sleeve before you slide it in. That way they can pull it out much easier. Maybe put a little bit of that Scotch tape on the outside there. I personally am not doing that. It's something that I might consider, but the way that I do it, as you guys saw, just give it a nice little wipe down, kind of a little glance in the light, kind of scope out, make sure you're not getting any kind of damage to your corners, your edges, your surfacing, and that your centering looks pretty solid. This one, to me, I'd give it at least a 9, which I'm pretty comfortable with. And you guys know that I'm definitely really high on Zion right now, so this would be a card that I'm going to get sent in. I would basically, this would be exactly what I would do. I'd put it, you know, in a stack of however many. I'd get so many put in my team bag, get that sealed up, get them in my bubble out bag. As you guys know, I'm huge on those. And then in a bubble mailer, and then just depending on how many, maybe going in a priority box as well. So 1 down, this stack is the rest to go. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I am not by any means, you know, a professional grader. I am not, you know, offering this as a service to anybody. I think it would be fun to do that in the future, but kind of seeing how popular people are as soon as they start to offer that, I don't think I have the time, honestly. But it is something I personally like to do myself. I've kind of got, I don't want to say lazy previously, but I kind of relied too heavily on the grader or the services, the group subs that is. I've gotten to relying on them, just kind of doing all this work and I think it kind of slows the whole process down. So I don't mind a second set of eyes, but I'd really like to be able to do this myself. I think it's kind of fun, like I said. It just kind of gets you more involved with the whole card, the whole sports card and the hobby, and just, you know, I think when you get it sent off and you know that you did all that prep work yourself and you did everything you needed to do, and if you get a good grade, it's just going to feel that much better. So hopefully this did help a lot of you guys out. I know many of you have already experienced this before, but like I said, I'm very happy to see the hobby growing by the day. And so for all the new people or just people that are interested, you know, on how you evaluate your sports card for grading, I really hope this helped. But like I said, let me know if you have questions down in the comments below. Like, subscribe. I really appreciate everybody that's jumped on board lately. We do have a giveaway coming up here pretty soon, and many more in the future, and lots more stuff to look forward to. Until next time, guys, take it easy.